Welcome into the RotoWire DFS Soccer Show. We're talking a 3-game slate, April 5th, over at DraftKings. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Ryan Belongia, fresh off midweek Premier League action, fresh off a 1-0 Chelsea win over Spurs on Thursday. We got more games coming up here, and then Champions League keeps coming, keeps going. Ryan, we just talked on, I think it was Monday, about the Tuesday slate. This slate is pretty similar. That was a 3-game slate. All the implied totals in those games were below 3. This slate, also a similar situation here. So now that we had that one fresh in our mind, does that mean we're going to be better suited to succeed with this slate?
Well, hopefully. We should be. Yeah, it's not the most exciting slate, but at least it's a slate, I guess. Yeah, none of the totals above 3. Biggest favorite is Bournemouth away to West Ham with the biggest total, 1.55 total. Bournemouth team that just lost at home to Ipswich. So, I mean, it's one of those slates at least where you can kind of look at all the matchups as sort of pick 'em games. You know, it could go any kind of way. Any of the teams could win. So from that perspective, it's kind of nice. But yeah, the low totals aren't great, and like I don't think there's a forward is really tough because I don't think there's a set piece taker on the slate. So we'll talk about forwards. Interesting what you do there. I think people might end up on kind of the same 2 guys. So I don't know how interesting the slate it's going to be. It's going to come down to, do you pick the right defenders, and I guess do you pick the right cheap midfielders, because you can't really. Yeah, I mean, the forward is weak, and then there's like set piece takers at all the other positions. You kind of got to choose between. It's not that exciting.
Unfortunately for us, it's a lot of the same teams that we talked about on Tuesday. If we remember back to that slate, Arsenal home against Fulham, they won 2-1. Wolves home against West Ham. I don't think either team got 10 shots in that one. It was 1-0. And then Nottingham Forest 1-0. They had 2 first-half subs. And then Bruno had, I think, a 20-point floor. Garnacho had, 12, 13-point floor for Manchester United. So just, one of those slates where we did talk up Belongia, and Saka got a goal off the bench. Martinelli was solid as well. But yeah, starting with forward here, this Bournemouth team coming off the loss. So they did have a bunch of good floors against Ipswich. That was the positive in that one. Now they're away against West Ham, who I don't know if Graham Potter is going to start changing his strategy up or what he's going to do, but clearly what he's been doing hasn't been working. They made 3 substitutes at the half against Wolverhampton. So they allowed a first half goal against Wolves, and then they made 3 first halftime substitutes. Second half, they managed 6 shots and 1 corner down a goal. So I think that's the first kind of matchup we want to look at here, because I think we have these Bournemouth guys that kind of stand out a little bit. Semenyo is down in price at 6,700. We were considering him last week. Actually, I think that was Wednesday's game. He was 7,600 against Ipswich, and now he's 6,700. He had about a 15-point floor. Semenyo is 6,700. Evan Nielsen, a little better chance to score, 7,400. Dango Otara is 8,600, but it looks like he's a guy who could go 90 even without set pieces. He's racking up pretty good floors. So are you worried? Are you considering Bournemouth guys? Do you take into account that it's away from home, or do you think it just doesn't matter because West Ham are at this point just kind of a bad defensive team?
Yeah, I think it kind of just doesn't matter on this slate because there's not much else, and Semenyo, with a drop in price, probably is just the best point per dollar forward on the slate. You said West Ham are a mess. The Bournemouth team, they're struggling a little bit too. I mean, they're not going to have Kluivert, Christie's out, Tavernier's out. So it's not really their first choice team. I mean, their floors were a little bit inflated, I think, last game because they went down 1-0 at half, then they went down 2-0. Against an Ipswich team, so they should put up big floors in that spot. But
theoretically,
yeah, 6,700 Semenyo. Just the slate overall, Mateta has the best goal scoring odds at plus 175, and he's 10,400. You know, I mean, the second best is Liam Delap.
38.
He's all the way down at 38.
That's awesome pricing by DK right there.
Yeah, so I think Semenyo will be pretty popular. And then even on the West Ham side of that game, Bowen at 9K, just in a home spot. I think he'll probably even end up pretty popular. You just get 90 minutes, and even without sets, pretty much like a 10-point floor, and maybe he can get involved in a goal. Because if you look at the other games, I don't think you're going to want a Wolves forward in cash. You know, Cunha's out. They just don't really have anyone else. Ipswich, you know, I guess you could play like a 3,800 Delap if you needed it, but they don't really have anything else. Hutchinson's out. Philogene hasn't started.
We talked about it on the last show. I mean, Strand Larson still for sub 5K. If we're getting close to 90 minutes, he was popular. I mean, obviously he was cheaper in that last slate, but I still think people will go there because they are playing Ipswich. So
yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, he scored again last week. Went 90 minutes.
Brace, right? Or goal and assist.
Just one. Just one goal, I think. Yeah, goal, 17 points.
Okay. Making something up in my head.
I just don't know that you necessarily need it. You know, where else? There's really nowhere to spend on this slate except Eze, who's 10-8. Maybe though, I guess maybe if you don't play your boy Ben Johnson, or if he doesn't start or something. But then you look at Palace. I don't think they have any cash plays at forward. I don't think Brighton do either, unless like Estupinian didn't start and Minta would take sets, but you can't see that happening.
Yeah, Minta, he didn't start in that midweek game. It was a Dingra there. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I think like João Pedro at 7K. I think if he was like 100%, that'd maybe be in the discussion. But Hertzler has said throughout the week before the last game that he's not 100%. You can tell in his minutes. I don't think he started their FA Cup game last weekend, and then he went however many minutes in this last game. So kind of off the radar, I'd say, especially at Crystal Palace.
Yep. If it was the João Pedro of old that played 90 minutes, then
who was ripping shots, playing 90 minutes, but
on a slate like this, but yeah, he's going to get subbed, I think.
Yeah, and then you throw in Will Hughes back from suspension, and you can't play those Brighton boys. Will Hughes is too good. So
yeah, there's just not a big pool at forward, right? So if there's not any cash plays from Palace, Brighton, in my opinion. Ipswich, Wolves is whatever, maybe Strand Larson, like you said. So I think people just naturally will end up on like a Bowen Semenyo pairing. What else do you do?
If Philogene started over Ben Johnson, would you consider him? He's 6,100.
Would we expect like a set or two? I guess even not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but like they'd need. Or no, who would take? It would just be Townsend and Enciso in that case.
Yeah.
I don't know. 6,100 seems a little bit like it's not cheap. I don't know. It's not cheap for a guy who hasn't like had a prominent role recently.
He did, and then he scored some goals, and then
I don't know what happened.
He got dropped for Ben Johnson.
It seemed like he was going to be an important player for them, and then he doesn't even start. Yeah, with Omari out.
They just won, so I guess that's my thought. I was going to change his Ipswich lineup, but they just won. They just beat Bournemouth away from home, so I kept the same exact lineup.
I think they would go unchanged.
Yeah,
how can you not go unchanged after that?
Right. It makes the most sense, but yeah, like you said, forward is. I think we also a part of this because of the injuries to Bournemouth. If you remove the Cliverts, Christie's, Taverniers, Unal is still out, Sinister is still out. Like these guys are set for 90 outside of David Brooks, because I think it'll be between Alex Scott and David Brooks for this spot. But we saw it last game. These guys are pretty much going to go 90 because they don't have anyone else. Evan Nielsen, Otara, Semenyo. It's like, who else are they going to? And their depth now is basically on the back line with Adam Smith and Arayo's coming back. Soler started recently at left back for him. So they basically have no depth in the attacking line. I think that's one of the main reasons I think you go with Bournemouth, because you don't really have to worry about subs on a short week. At least it seems like it. And then they're also going against West Ham, who are West Ham, and there should be
You could
goals
go
there.
double Bournemouth even if you want. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Nielsen's
you could.
Probably good for 90. Been in pretty good form.
Yeah, I'd say Dango. I mean, he's 1,200 more than Evan Nielsen. I don't know. I did play Evan Nielsen in cash games midweek, but I guess it depends where else you go, which we're going to find out here shortly. Where else are we going to go? So Eze is 10.8K. If we removed, what are the, so if we, does your mindset change at all after what we just saw with Crystal Palace in their game against Southampton? Now they're playing against a Brighton team. Aren't, a team that allows a ton of floors. 10.8K is a lot. But again, who else are you spending it on? I guess you can ask that. But does your mind change at all after that recent performance?
Yeah, my mind changes, but I just don't think it just doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
Who on the whole slate would you play over him? Is there any player?
There's this Mustafa guy, Crystal Palace. I've actually never heard of him.
I haven't either. Hindolo.
Yeah, I think we just go to James Fraud Prowse. Shouts to Bear.
All the way down there at 33. They slashed his price even more.
I mean, we've talked about this. Is this the third straight slate where we have Wolverhampton players on our slate? But
it must be a lot of these teams.
Is it?
I checked out Hindolo Mustafa. He's tearing up Premier League 2 this season. 7 goals and 3 assists. 18-year-old from somewhere in Africa, Sierra Leone, it looks like.
He must have made the bench at some point. Mm-hmm. So Joe Gomez let us down midweek, 3.9 points. He's 4,200. Bellegarde, 6,200.
That was unlucky, by the way. Joe Gomez balled. He was player of that game for like the first 75 minutes. And in the first half, he could have scored or assisted like 3 different times, just like broke weird ways. But anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. He had a good game.
Tough number for him.
Then he got like an unfortunate yellow for like half dissent and half like a foul that wasn't even a foul. But yeah.
So how do we view these Wolverhampton guys? Ipswich, one of the better, floor spots there is. I know it's away from home, but Bellegarde, these guys are going close to 90 minutes. Munetsi, 5,200. Is it not even worth it to look at these guys when you have the potential of Eze?
Well, I wouldn't play him over Eze. But for a second midfield spot for tournaments, I think. I mean, a goal is going to go a long way on this slate. I don't love them for floors, really. I mean, it's not a bad matchup, but just, Sarabia is going to come on, which is annoying. I don't know. They have forwards that come on too. Echan and Guedes and whoever else, but I don't know. No, I don't have too much interest. Because Lewis Cook is 3,900 splitting sets. You said JFP is 33, and then Brooks is 54. So I just don't see people getting to those other guys. Even Enciso is there at 59, even like without sets. So those are the mids that I see people going to. Maybe Wharton. Wharton burned a lot of people last game. But yeah, I think it keeps people off the Wolves guys for sure.
Yeah, so I plugged in Roto.
What do we got going on here?
Ryan's clicking on all these comments. Sorry for the podcast listeners. We got some looks like we need to ban someone from the chat. Looks like we got
RIP KDB. I saw today KDB in 10 seasons never won player of the month, which is
What?
which was shocking to
Is
me.
that a true stat?
Yeah, it's a true stat. I saw guys who were like Connor Wickham and Micah Richards
Crystal Palace
and
legend.
Gareth Southgate.
He had 13 goals and 20 assists in one season. He never won Player of the Month.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that type of award. I think even that one season, Ruben Diaz won Player of the Year over him. So I don't know.
Nevertheless. So what I was saying, if you want these Roto AI projections, rotowire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial, rotowire.com/chat. I've been posting these in the Discord. But the worst valued midfielder here on the slate, because he's 10.8K, is Eberechi Eze. In terms of floor here, if we say, okay, he has 11, 12, 13-point floor in this spot for 10.8K, point per dollar there, not great value. So does that sway your mind at all, or is it
DraftKings kind of really messed up the pricing here? No, because he has the highest raw point floor, right? Does anyone have a higher raw points projection? I think I would play Eze here, Adam, for 15K because DraftKings messed up the prices so bad.
15K?
It would be easy.
What about when Dango Otara gets a 15-point floor and your forward gets 2?
I've seen Dango might not even start. I can see Dango not starting.
Why isn't he starting?
I just saw a couple lineups projected. We just
talked about their lack of depth. What, Alex Scott and David
Alex
Brooks?
Scott there. Yeah, Alex Scott and Brooks in there. Brooks is starting, so it's either going to be Dango or Scott for the other. Probably Dango, but I'm just saying.
Alex Scott got his. Let's click into Alex Scott here. He got his first start in however long in that last game, and he met 58 minutes because he wasn't fit enough. He got like a cramp after 58 minutes. You're telling me
he did take a set? Yeah, sets were going to be interesting in that game.
All right, I'll plug in Eze in my lineup for you and see where we get.
You can just still afford whoever you want.
Okay, we'll get there.
I guess unless you don't want to play Ben Johnson, the skeleton key.
Okay. So we're in a situation where people will build lineups around Ward-Prowse and Ben Johnson, and there's a chance that both of them don't start.
I don't know Ward-Prowse though. No, I think people just go to Cook. Like you don't really need to play both, so you just choose one of those guys.
Okay.
So yeah, but one of them and Eze and Ben Johnson.
If Lewis Cook starts as a right back, are you worried about set pieces?
Yeah, I think he's a fade then for sure for me.
Okay.
He hasn't taken any from right back pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, Areola hates that. Or whatever his name is, Andoni.
Oh yeah, not the West Ham goalkeeper.
No, not the West Ham goalkeeper.
Iriola.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So speaking of value, the best point per dollar value here, Ben Johnson is our favorite talking point. 2,900 set pieces. The worst sofa score rating of Ipswich in their last game. I believe it was below 5, but he had an 8.1 floor.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah, I posted it in the Discord. He was below 5 in the win against Bournemouth. It
must be those 4 fouls committed.
Yeah. Otherwise, 7 crosses, a couple shots, some set pieces there.
Otherwise, he had a stormer.
For DFS purposes, he had a stormer.
Yeah.
So basically, we have to lock him in because you don't want to fade an attacking. Who's more attacking? I know some people sometimes have called him a wing back in this position, which is fair. It depends if they have the ball, if they don't have the ball. But Ben Johnson,
attacking wing back,
2.9K. This guy who played, I think he played what? He was a center back at times for Moyes at West Ham, I believe, at a minimum.
He's been a center back.
Yeah. So, and now he's in this position, but So yeah, that's where it comes to 2.9K. If he starts, you basically can't fade him because if he gets 8 points again at 2.9K, you want that. You don't want to pay 6K for whoever and get 5 points and be like, what happened here? What's going on? What did I do wrong? That's what you did wrong. So who are you going to pick with Ben Johnson is the question.
Well,
is yeah, go for it.
Like there are multiple defenders who can theoretically outscore him, and you'd have the salary to do it. But it's not like smash guys. Aitnery, of course, we got to talk about. Looks pretty good at Ipswich, 57. Stupinian looks pretty good with his price down at 53. Connor Townsend seems fine at 52. I mean, all set piece guys. But yeah, I think you have to play Johnson, like you said, and then one of these other guys, maybe two of these other guys. If you like them enough, you could play one in the flex.
3 defender slate.
I don't. I mean, it can be just because there's going to be 3 guys who have set pieces. So if you like one of them better than like a Lewis Cook or a JFP, then why not? Dave Brooks. I mean, those guys aren't like locks.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you, even like David Brooks versus Stupinian is kind of a decision, or
I mean, I'd play a Stupinian.
See, there you go.
Just with David Brooks, we're looking at this is, potential 60, 70 minute guy. And, you just hate when that happens. Especially,
Christie being out helps a little. He had I just see these games in January back to back all over 80. So it wouldn't really surprise me to see Brooks go 80 here.
That was when Alex Scott, Tavernier, all those guys were out.
Now it's Tab and Christie. I mean,
Evan Nielsen was out as well.
They're going to have to use Lewis Cook at right back at some point too, maybe. The same as last game.
But Alex Scott isn't the same player as whoever.
Christie? Who? Tab?
Well, when he was going 80 minutes, they didn't really. I don't know.
I mean, I hear you. But what if Scott and Brooks both start? Then Brooks is like on the table for 90.
I think Scott is more of a central player than Brooks. And then Dango and Semenyo are more wide players. And I think they'd rather want those guys in than Brooks.
It's possible.
I don't know. I'm just not there with Brooks getting over 80 minutes. But maybe.
I mean, it's unlikely. I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's. Who's your favorite between? Did you mention Kirkes at 7K is a lot? Do you think you put Kirkes with that bunch?
7K? Oh no, only 6K.
Sorry, 6K.
No, I didn't. But it's fine. He's been playing very well. Yeah, I guess he should be in that bunch. I'm
completely throwing Tyreek Mitchell out after he was subbed
Didn't even
off
hear about your Palace guys.
Well, I'm throwing, maybe Palace threw us off the scent with that performance.
What if Chilwell gets the start?
Well, then he's only going 60 or 70. I don't want anything to do with that. It was a time where Mitchell was going 90s, I think like a few straight. Back to back, he's been subbed off early. 58, I'm done. I'm done.
Even your boy Munoz got subbed.
Munoz got subbed for the goal scorer, Franca, who is like an attacking winger. I mean, they were down, so they put him on.
Yeah,
but you could tell with this. He had no floor against Southampton. I'm not going to play him for a floor with a possible sub against Brighton. So it's just off the table in cash games.
It is.
So
off the table.
So is Estupinian your favorite of that bunch? Kirkes?
I don't think so, actually. It's still Aitnery.
Okay.
But I wouldn't fault anyone who picked any of these guys.
Because of matchup?
Because of matchup, and I think he's more likely to do it from open play. He's more likely to score assists from open play. Estupinian hasn't been great from open play. But he hit that sick free kick against Man City, and Probably will take some more shots from free kicks after that, but
Yeah.
just doesn't get as far forward.
People were betting on Aitnery shot props in the Discord, and I had to point out he has 2 shots on target since October.
Yeah, you would think without Cunha, he may take 1 or 2 more, but yeah, that didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
I mean, with Cunha out there, so many of their positive attacks end with Cunha just taking a shot from somewhere. So when he's not out there, somebody else can take shots. But yeah,
I don't hate Townsend either. I don't hate these 3.
no, Townsend in the Leaf Davis role seems pretty good.
I mean, I know he didn't have much of a floor last game because he had that assist, but they score early, so they're not really in a situation where, and it's Bournemouth, we're just kind of, bossing
awful
that
game script.
Right. And now home against Wolves, this seems like, one of the best game scripts for him. His prior 2 starts at Aston Villa, at Bournemouth, home against Wolverhampton here. So I just like the spot. This could be a 10 floor spot for Townsend where people may not be, maybe, I don't know, maybe off the scent in terms of a floor.
Yeah, I think that is, it's a great point.
So
do you think you could just pretend he's Leaf Davis?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think if it was Leaf Davis for 5,400, people would want to play him.
Yeah, there's one of these games, maybe it was the Aston Villa game, where I believe their fans were like, Townsend is a better option for us. Like he's a better defender.
I remember people saying that.
And I mean, he's gotten more time since, but I mean, there is you could play Eze and spend up on these 3 defenders and
it's
still do it. So it's
that's what I mean about the pricing. It's annoying.
Yeah, I guess it'd be. Oh, wait, what am I?
That's without even using you don't even need to. Still don't even need a Liam Delap or Strand Larson.
Yeah, you just wouldn't be able to play. You probably wouldn't be able to play Dango.
Yeah, you have to fade Bowen or Dango or whoever that is.
Yeah, plug in Evan Nielsen, and we got 4,800 for Bruggen for all the Eze shots from outside the box. We're locked in. There we go. Cash lineup success. So would you rather play Ben Johnson at 2,900 than maybe spend up at one of your forward spots, or play the 3 of these guys in the 5-ish K range?
I think the problem is that Ben Johnson is just as good of a play as them, if not better. I mean, if Ben Johnson was 5K, you might still be playing Ben Johnson, Adam. So put him at 5K and he's gonna still be popular.
Do you think it's worth it to fade the chalk though?
I mean, yeah, but
in case he gets subbed off early and
he's not a lock.
Gets one of these 2-point performances.
In cash, he's a lock, but in tournaments, you don't need it.
Yeah, I think in tournaments, you definitely want to fade him.
Fade him at 70% ownership or whatever.
Right. You think he's gonna be 70 in tournaments?
Oh, I don't know. I just threw a number out there. He's 2,500 or 2,900.
2,900
with sets.
Yeah. Here, I'll look up percentages midweek.
I mean,
and he was a surprise in the starting 11, so it's not going to be like for like. But yeah, go on a diatribe here about goalkeepers for everyone.
Oh man, goalkeepers horrible on this slate. They're all the same. I think any of them can win. I don't have a preference. Pricing's annoying. You don't really need to spend down, but you could. I mean, the 2 cheapest keepers are home keepers that could win. Areola 4K. Palmer's coming off a win and now home against Wolves at 43. Palace looked bad. Verbruggen at 46 is fine. Even the Palace keeper, I don't know, Adam. I have no keeper preference. I'll just, make it core. This is a slate where you want it to correlate with your lineups, I think.
So Ben Johnson was barely used because I guess he was a surprise starter. He used 15% in the King of the Pitch qualifier. And then
nobody played him. Well, it was also because Enciso started. That's why none of us played him, because Enciso was there.
That's
but
true.
Then Ben Johnson comes out and takes the sets. It's just unbelievable.
That's a good point.
A guy that plays more than anyone else in the lobby at this point. Higher dollar, higher volume, higher everything.
Yeah, I mean, even in that,
Ben Johnson. So
in this qualifier, Ben Johnson 15.7%. Enciso is 3.7%.
Yeah, because no one's going to play Enciso for that price in that spot.
5,400, yeah. Yeah, goalkeeper. Who did you say? You're backing Kepa here?
No, don't want to.
I mean, I assume you said it's the obvious slate to spend down because every goalkeeper has between a 21% and 29% chance for a clean sheet.
Yeah, they're all the same. Yep, just like make it correlate with your lineup.
Yeah, I'd say, man, it's kind of tough to play Palmer because Wolverhampton just aren't getting a ton of shots on target. Without Cunha, they're not getting this guy who's ripping, 30, 35-yard shots out.
Yeah.
It's not the same situation.
They could just get a clean sheet.
They could get a win and a clean sheet, or they could lose 1-0 on one shot on goal.
Yep.
Which is always a worry in the situation like that.
Do you expect Kepa to face shots? I don't really.
No. Yeah, West Ham had one shot on target against Wolves in that last
Maybe.
game.
I don't know. Sometimes, Bournemouth games are more open. I don't know. We just saw Ipswich do fine. You never know.
Yeah, the way they play, their press is a little more frantic.
West Ham's kind of backs against the wall at home. Maybe they show up for once.
Yeah, I'd probably say Hendo or Verbruggen, and then Areola, because maybe we could just do a similar situation for Bournemouth where West Ham get an early goal and then Bournemouth are just pounding in a bunch of shots and you're getting 5+ saves from Areola, something like that.
Yep. I could see Verbruggen being the least popular keeper on the slate. Maybe he won't be, but for tournaments, I could see that. I think everyone will have Eze, and I think people will either just pay down for a home keeper or pay up for somebody. But I don't know. Could be wrong.
This is a 6 slate here.
No.
What are your thoughts on Mateta here as we get into tournament conversations here? So Mateta just hasn't really looked like himself. He had surgery on his ear, right? He got kicked in the ear with a concussion and all that.
Yeah.
He's wearing this mask or covering over his face. 10.4K. Are you going to play him like similar Mateta from 2 months ago when, 90s every game, or 70 minutes, 59 minutes, it just really hasn't been there for him.
Yeah, no, he's too expensive too. You'd only do it for game theory, but yeah, he looks a little bit shook. Remember when Raul Jimenez was shook when he came back and had to wear the head protector?
Oh no.
Remember? He was like, I can't even, I'm scared to even go for headers. No.
His career was over for like 3 years.
Yeah, now he's back. Hopefully it doesn't take Mateta that long. But I don't know, not for 10-4.
You just put that on Mateta?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I saw it. Looks that thing doesn't look very comfortable.
Not good. So, how much are you fading Eze in tournaments?
I'm not. I'm not. I'm playing 4 lineups. There's a $25 King of the Pitch. I'll play 4 in that and put him in some other stuff too. And
you don't just want to fade him.
There's no one else to play, Adam.
Mustafa. We talked about this.
What would you even do? You'd for sure have to play Bowen, spend for a Bournemouth guy. You stack that West Ham game, I guess. I don't even know who else you play.
I think
play.
I think a bigger question would be like, where are you getting your points from midfield? Because there's no one.
Yeah.
There's no one from basically Kudus.
Adam, why don't you just show up with Lewis Cook JFP midfield, 3,933. You're to the promised land right there. You got both of them, two Joshua Kimmiches in your lineup.
I think you could probably still find a way to use all your salary if you fade Eze. But
yeah, it's tough though.
But like, I think these Wolves guys are good for tournaments. I mean, we saw them get 2 goals. Bellegarde 20 points against Southampton. This Ipswich game, not all that different.
Yep.
I mean, Bournemouth should have scored more than 1 goal in that last meeting. I wouldn't take that for anything. This team has been allowing goals to everyone, pretty bad goals at that. So, yeah, like the Bellegardes, like the Munetzis, getting something from that direction.
No one's going to play the Brighton guys either. And we've seen Palace look kind of bad. Pedro, Mitoma, Welbeck, whoever starts, I don't think any of them get played. Although, I don't know. Forward's so bad. Like, someone else has to get played. But, I think a lot of ownership will settle on Bournemouth and Bowen.
Yeah. Tough spot for Brighton. Is Wharton out of your player pool here at 4,900 after what he did in this most recent game?
No. It's no, but I'm not like itching to play him. But he really can't be when midfield's so bad. Is David Brooks that much better? Is Enciso that much better? Is Lewis Cook that much better? You just need the guy who scores like 11 points. I don't know. Who's it going to be? Could be Wharton.
Paqueta's still on PKs, right?
Might be. It's not a bad tournament play.
I think Paqueta is a great tournament play at 6,300. He is playing in a deeper role, which hurts a little bit. He had 5 fouls committed in this last game. Still had a 9-point floor, which kind of says about what everything else he did on the pitch. But I think Bournemouth are going to allow a goal, at least 1 goal here.
Yeah, I agree.
And PK Paqueta. I'm not going.
What if JFP stepped up and took it?
Oh shoot! No. Don't do this. Don't do this. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's a good question. Oh man.
Yeah, that puts a little.
I don't want that to happen to me. I might just ignore this.
Imagine how excited you would be when Bowen draws the pen and oh yes, here comes Paqueta.
Oh, that sucks.
JFP to bury you at like 40% ownership.
That's not cool. It's not cool at all. Yeah, Fulkrug, Evan Ferguson, both those guys going to be subbed off early no matter who starts. But hey, go with it in tournaments. Nothing stands out to me in terms of tournaments. Though I do think Ipswich at home, this Wolverhampton team has been good defensively, but
Broadhead
is there. We'll see what their bench looks. We'll see what their bench looks like.
I mean, the front 3 is kind of like Broadhead, Ben Johnson, and Delap. There's not a whole lot of options there.
Yeah, Delap, pretty good. He's been getting subbed off earlier and earlier for Hurst, which isn't helpful. Connor Chaplin's also back from injury, so even with Hutchinson and Smodix possibly out, like you still have a pretty deep bench. Like Jack Clark still comes on that left wing, so. That is one thing I don't like in that situation.
How about, who haven't we talked about yet? Diego Gomez sets? 4K?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he's just another guy. Like, okay, he's going to get 2 set pieces and go off at 70 minutes for
I'd rather play João Gomez.
Yeah, it's the slate kind of sucks. I've noticed it midweek that we're getting closer to the end of the season. A lot of these teams are, there's not a ton to worry about for these teams. These 3 teams are going to get relegated. You have the middle that's not really have much to play for. You have some of the top teams playing for, top 4, top 5 and Champions League spots, but, more or less we're seeing more subs. It's kind of what I noticed midweek coming out of the international break. It's like 4 or 5 subs, random guys coming in, like the Crystal Palace situation, like Munoz coming in, Chilwell getting more minutes, just stuff like that is worrisome, and which kind of what we talked about at the top, where that's kind of why we like these Bournemouth guys, because like who is actually going on for them. So that's just one thing I'd like. Jared Bowen is a guy who's going 90. Paqueta, it seems like he's a guy that's going 90. You got the Bournemouth guy. So I want guys who I kind of know are going to go 90. We'll see what this Wolverhampton bench looks like, but I don't think they have any changes. These guys have been going close to 90. Strand Larson, they don't have an exact replacement for him. So so just stuff like that is kind of.
Yep.
I think even Sarr has been going 90 in all these games. Didn't Nketiah come on for Mateta? Yeah. So Sarr is still a guy who's basically 90s. But Wharton, I am worried about Wharton minutes because with Hughes back, they have Lerma in there. So one of these guys is going to get subbed early, it seems like. So just all this stuff. But Brighton have been a sub-heavy team basically all season. I mean, we'll see what this lineup looks like. But the fact that it seems like Hertzler always subs 5 players, and it's going to be 6 attacking players. So we're probably going to get 90 from a Estupinian. So that's kind of why I also like a Estupinian. Aït-Nouri been an early sub in situations. So just stuff like that. But you think we covered it all?
Yeah, I do. And yeah, you're right about the 90 minutes. That becomes more and more important. That's been happening a lot, not just Premier League, interleague slates, everything. That becomes like paramount on slates like these.
Yeah. Yeah, get the 90-minute guys. Hope they have a 10-point floor and score, and you're good to go. And then hope all the chalk players who play 60 minutes get 2 points, like Ben Johnson.
Or, you can play like, you go for the folk rug brace.
Yeah, go for the first half brace, something like that. Speaking of subs, is there any consideration for like a bench player at this point, or are we not there yet?
No. On a classic slate, you would need a guy that's going to score.
George Hurst.
Yeah, you'd need like it to be on like a minus 500 favorite or more, and him to be like 4K, and they're going to see like 30 minutes, then maybe.
Okay. Hursty. All right.
Hursty.
Or Nketiah. Hursty or Nketiah is where we'll go. But that's all we got here. Rotowire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial. If you're listening to this, please give a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Season is winding down, but we still have some Champions League. We got Champions League coming next week. We got betting shows as well coming in a little bit over at youtube.com/@RotowireSoccer. But Ryan, you can find him at Ryan Belongia. I am at Zdroik. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Good luck on the slate. Find you in the Discord, rotowire.com/chat. If there's any lineup changes, go in the chat, ask what the set piece situation is, and someone will be able to answer that question for you. Thanks, Ryan. We'll see everyone next week.
Thanks, Adam. Good luck, everybody.